It's currently 7:38 p.m. I recall finishing the vertical lines for the mask for the current polystyrene drawing project sometime during the late morning, early afternoon hours. And now I'm currently working on doing my best to draw basically a photograph of a close-up of a tree or two trees with either oak leaves or maple leaves based off of the reference image that I'm using. Trying to do what's in front first. It's a bit intimidating to try to essentially recreate, photograph. But I'll just do my best for the hoodie of the current polystyrene drawing project. Dad cooked this steak outside not too long ago. Marinated it for a handful of hours, along with the asparagus, and the steak being on different plates within our refrigerator. And the broccoli is something Dad got during a Wegmans grocery shopping trip. That occurred sometime between 4 and 5 p.m. The steak is delicious. Around 12:45 p.m., Dad made essentially a grilled cheese bagel sandwich using some of the leftover pepper jack cheese. Though I believe Dad toasted either toasted or microwaved rather than grilled the sandwich. He gave me the mug root beer, plastic bottle that he got when he went to Salvatore's on the day of the week where they have their sub deal. I'm not sure which, but for some reason Thursday came to mind first. And that mug root beer is because as part of the deal, getting the sub, it included a fountain drink of your choice. A 20-ounce soda of your choice. Roughly speaking, Dad gave me what was left of the mug root beer after drinking some of it. I spent much of the afternoon hours after I finished the vertical lines for the mask. Editing and uploading the June 23 and June 24, my dinner videos. Partially to get that out of the way. So they're on my YouTube channel. And I can later check to make sure nothing's wrong with those my dinner videos. And delete not only the U-Cut projects, but also the raw video clips off my phone and make room for future my dinner videos. Such as this one. But also because the thought of trying to recreate essentially a photograph using Sharpie markers seemed daunting. And I had to first spend some time and effort deciding what color Sharpie markers I would need in order to start doing all of the detail and outlining for the image that would make up the hoodie. This led me to spend some time organizing a few different colors of Sharpie markers, such as gray, I first did blue, then gray, then purple, essentially from their lightest to darkest hue. And then I did some work on this triangle ball project that's actually more meant so I can work on a project during a future karaoke night with my mom. But I decided to do a bit of work on that project anyway. So I could practice and experiment with how I would do a triangle pattern. Since I don't really have practice or experience with that from what I recall. I recall this period lasted roughly from 1 to 4 p.m. All the while, every now and then, I had thoughts of reorganizing my marker satchel and ended up doing so for brief periods of time as part of preparations for deciding what color Sharpie markers I would need to start working on the hoodie for the current polystyrene drawing project. Around 2:45 p.m., I had some plain coffee from a blue plastic little glass that I first noticed during the late morning period in the refrigerator, but I didn't take it initially. when I was having coffee initially, or after I finished the initial 3 cups of coffee that I had, because initially I thought it was at least some of the mug root beer that Dad poured for himself. And it wasn't until about 2:45 p.m. that I saw it again in the refrigerator. Asked Dad about it and if it was part of the mug root beer, and he said that it was plain coffee. And so I had it roughly from 2:45 p.m. to about 3:15 p.m. at the latest. Also, I had the Congregate game Incremental Cubes running sort of in the background on a tab on one of my windows of Microsoft Edge for much of today. One thing I've noticed after not too long ago getting past the entirety of Tier 1, as you go later into Tier 1, the cubes become larger, and as they do, as you get more cubes within the big cube, that gets larger with each phase you get past. The number of cubes you're able to collect, or the amount of damage you're able to do to the big cube, increases exponentially, so later on into Tier 1, you're pretty much guaranteed to take away all of the big cube's health once you fill the big cube up with small cubes, which for me, at this point, towards the last few phases, was pretty much an equal number of blue, green, orange cubes with some red cubes mixed in. I finally figured out how to use my helper bots. I just had to drag, in this case, the magician helper, which gives me extra cubes from essentially the charge slots into my one equipment slot. Essentially, as you get into the later phases of Tier 1, it just becomes a matter of waiting for the big cube to fill with little cubes. As for Tier 2, I'm not entirely sure how that one works, but I assume it has something to do with doing enough damage to the big cube for putting in small cubes. And once you get to Tier 2, after 20 phases, getting through 20 phases of Tier 1, the big cube is able to heal X amount of health after every tick. Though at this point I'm not exactly sure how long a tick is.